I'm at the 70th Annual Autorama car show held here in downtown Detroit. Now this is a show dominated by crazy customs and some truly wild wheels, but a car on display attracting all kinds of attention is none other than the hometown haunt, the historic 1970 Dodge Challenger RTSE known as the Black Ghost. The original owner made a name racing it, and now it's in the hands of his son, Godfrey Qualls. Now, days before the Autorama, I had the chance to sit down with Godfrey for a special interview and get the inside scoop, starting with his thoughts on what it means to him to be in town this weekend. What is the significance of us being here with the car in downtown Detroit? What does the city and the streets mean to you, your family, and maybe most importantly, what did it mean to your dad?
Well, for one, for my dad, it was basically this was his home. This is where he grew up from. This is his home. This is where he did his racing, and he had his fun. The car was built here. The car was ordered from here, and the car's always been here in Detroit, and it's a Detroit car. So, I think for us as the family, we just like to tell that story. My dad's legacy. Because it's a Detroit story, and people need to know it.
One of the intriguing aspects of the Black Ghost's tale is the professions that Godfrey engaged in. Besides a decorated career in the military, the leadfoot was also in law enforcement.
So he was first drafted in 1964 and 1966 for the Vietnam War, and he served in the Dominican Republic. He did that for 2 years, and he ended up getting a Purple Heart for when they threw a hand grenade and it exploded, and he got injured with the hand grenade. Then from there he came back to Detroit. He did some odd end jobs here as a roofer, and then he applied for the Detroit Police Department. And then from the Detroit Police Department he got hired in April of 1970. He did that job for 37 years, and he was a motor traffic enforcement cop. And then he went back into the military right around the time when he put the car up. So around 77, 78, once the car was put up for good, he went back as a reservist into the National Guard and went back to training, did his Special Forces training, and became Green Beret. And he served that job as a reservist for 27 years, along with the Detroit Police Department for 37.
Where the car comes into the story is in the fall of 1969. That's when Godfrey headed to the Raynal Brothers Dodge dealership to order up his dream machine. That trip and acquisition was prompted by nothing less than a little sibling rivalry.
His brother, my Uncle Clee, he had a 1968 Charger, all black, white bumblebee stripe, with a 440 Magnum in it. And, they're kind of, as brothers, you know how you compete against your brothers. So, my dad decided, well, you try to talk him into getting the Hemi in the Charger. But, nah. So when it's time for my dad to get his cars, so he got the Challenger, because that's what the body style he liked, and he special ordered it, and he had to get the Hemi because he wanted to one-up his brother. So he says, yeah, I got to get the almighty Hemi with it.
What resulted was a highly optioned example. Underneath the hood is indeed the almighty 426 cubic inch Hemi V8, conservatively rated at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. It was paired to the 4-speed manual with pistol grip shifter, and the Super Track Pack package was added, bringing elements like power front disc brakes, a heavy-duty rear axle, and extreme cooling parts like a 26-inch high-performance radiator. Wanting to fly under the radar and to mimic Cleet's Charger, Godfrey had his Challenger painted black, highlighted with a white bumblebee stripe. Well, that's the factory-installed equipment. Godfrey added a bit more. Your dad had a very much a hands-on approach with the car. He did order it to his liking, but after taking delivery, he still added some personalized touches. What were some of those that you've discovered around the vehicle?
So this personalized touches he added were the Africa sticker on the side of the car. So that represents, my dad always used to talk about the Zulu warriors, in the military, and that's where that comes from. So it reminds him of the Zulu warriors in Africa, because a lot of his teammates in the military called them that, the Zulu warrior. Other things on the car, like people wondering what they're for, is the trailer hitch on the rear car. That's probably, I get asked that the most. A trailer hitch? Why do you put a trailer hitch on there? So the trailer hitch is on there because just as much as my dad loved cars, he loved bikes, motorcycles. and he towed his motorcycles. So he had a few Norton motorcycles from 68, 69. He had some Triumphs, some BSAs. So my dad was always into motorcycles. So he's whether trading them, selling them, buying them, and he did a lot with motorcycles.
And then there's also a couple additional touches that he added to improve the car's performance. What were those?
Yeah, the few performance things that he did, well, I guess they're sort of like performance. These are more like stock performance things, right? There's things you would do that, okay, what can I do to make the car give it a little more oomph, right? So what he would do, he cut off the exhaust, so he didn't run the resonators or the mufflers, so you give the engine would breathe more. And then with the distributor, so with the distributor, what they would advance the timing in the distributor, and they actually welded the distributor to a certain, degree of timing, so that the car will always have the power right from the pedal. So those are kind of some of the tricks that he did. And then he also used this big coil. It was called a Judson magneto coil. So I guess it was a hotter coil, and he run thicker spark plug wires. So those are some of the things he did.
The reason Godfrey made those changes, waking up his car's performance, was to aid him late at night when he'd be out street racing. The car was purpose-built to go fast, and the lawman wasn't afraid to use it. And it was those after-hours antics where this Challenger acquired its unique nickname.
So from my understanding is that some of the local street racing crowd named it the Black Ghost because of that. Because he'd come, he'd race you, and he just, after he beat you or whatever, he would ghost you, and he kept going. He never stopped. He never really associated with the people because, he couldn't, And being as a police officer, he can't. Hey, So yeah, that was the lure of it and the mystique.
Eventually, he did slow down and put the car into long-term storage. That allowed him to focus on his growing family. Was it a surprise at all for your dad to hang on to this car for as long as he did?
Yeah, because at first I was trying to figure out why did he keep the car for so long? Because my dad he did sell a lot of things. He sold his motorcycles. So I think at that time it was just his prized possession. He just liked the car and he wanted to keep it. At some point in time, though, he did want to sell the car for the family. And for us, but he just never did. He just never got around to doing it. But yeah, it's just one of those things that, I think it's just more or less was his trophy. But then once you kind of figure out once I found out about the story, then I understood why he kept it. It's his legacy.
Since taking over ownership of his dad's prized possession in 2015, Gregory has worked extremely hard in raising awareness of the car and his dad's connection. He's attended all kinds of events, making for one deeply personal journey a family discovered.
So yeah, this journey, it's been an amazing journey. I've met a lot of different people. I've shared stories with people. Because all I really wanted to do was tell my dad's story. And people just gravitate towards it. They can relate to it. They understand the story. They understand the type of guy my dad is, what type of person he is, and how loving and caring he was. And I think for me and my family, that was one of the most important things for us to do. And during this whole journey of everything, it's been amazing. One thing has led to another thing, and it hasn't been it hasn't been planned. It just sort of just happened. For me and our family, it was just meeting people because we inspired people. There's people that reached out to my Facebook and said, because of you and your dad's story, I was able to get my parents' car back running. It gave me motivation to go out there and to work on their cars and to do things with my son and things like that. And I think it's brought a lot of inspiration and love to a lot of people. And I hope I can continue to do that.
From the shadows to the center spotlight, this once surreptitious street racer has had quite the transformation, and as Gregory and countless others can attest, it never fails to leave a lasting impression. While it's had a lengthy history, its story is far from over. A new chapter will be written this May as this milestone Mopar crosses the block at Mecum's Indianapolis auction. There, for the first time, the unusual will occur. Someone will actually have the chance to catch the Black Ghost.